we knew that the final budget outcome for the last fiscal year would probably be better than had been anticipated in May. What we saw really was a very strong bounce back in the economy last financial year, not just activity, but also the labour market. And I think in particular, that recovery back to pre-COVID levels in terms of output and recouping all those lost jobs very early at the start of this year was what contributed to that stronger underlying budgetary position. So especially on the labour market side, a much stronger labour market helps both reduce outlays as well as improve receipts via high income tax take. And I think that's very clear in the fact that the unemployment rate was around 5% at the middle of this year from about 6.5% at the start. So it's really that much stronger labour market picture reflecting a stronger economy that's delivered that better budgetary outcome.
Okay, but what about looking to the future? The federal government wanting to pull back on that stimulus, those payments that are going to workers, wanting to pull back when vaccinations reach a target of about 80%. What impact will that have?
Look, it's going to be a really interesting period, I think, going forward, and how the economy both adjusts to reduce stimulus and recovers. And so we know that things are quite different from budget time and the outlook. Obviously, activity in the third quarter will be quite weak. The multiple lockdowns across states and extended lockdowns, we think will hit activity and we'll see GDP contract at least 3%, possibly closer to 3.5%. But it's really about the recovery in Q4, and as you take away some of that stimulus, as you move to higher vaccination rates, but still not zero cases, as well as ongoing restrictions, what does that recovery look like? And the risk is that we will not fully recoup the activity lost in Q3 in the fourth quarter of this year. It's going to take some time, I think, before we see a big lift in activity. So there's no doubt that the pullback in stimulus will add, I think, to that uncertainty as we look ahead into the end of the year.
Of course, economics is also political. Is this an attempt by the federal government to force states and territories to cut back on lockdowns?
Look, I think there is an element of moving to the next phase of this pandemic and the importance of getting the economy moving and open again. It's been a really tough, I think, period across a number of states, particularly New South Wales and Victoria. So the key really is vaccination. Once we get to those important thresholds and we can open up more, it is key, I think, in terms of being able to return to work, to functioning, to employment coming back online. And so I think there is an element of wanting to move to that next stage. And consistent with that, the supports that were very much designed for lockdowns, restrictions, people being stood down need to be pared back. So we are moving towards that. Is there an element of politics in it? That there probably is, but at the end of the day, it is about, I think, moving to that next phase.
And looking at the Delta variant and how contagious it is, what are the risks that keep you awake at night for the economy?
Look, it really is about how we respond to this next stage. We know that when we come out of these lockdowns, it's not going to be as it has been when we've had other lockdowns. We're not going back to zero cases. We know that the Delta strain, particularly amongst children who will not be vaccinated, sub 12, will increase, and we will see a step up in case numbers. The key really, and what worries me, I guess, is how do households, consumers and businesses respond to that? How do they adjust to that new world of elevated cases and still ongoing restrictions? And that's going to make it challenging, I think, for businesses who won't be able to operate at full capacity. For consumers, will they be comfortable going out and spending? I think these are all the uncertainties that we think about as we head to these next key milestones. And so, our best best case assumption at the moment is we will get a recovery in activity in Q4. The question is, how strong will it be? Will there be some hesitancy, and will businesses be constrained by ongoing partial restrictions at least, and not be able to operate at full capacity? So they're the things that worry us a little bit as we move to these next steps.